All right, what's going on, Sooner Nation? You guys are holding it down pretty strong on National Signing Day. Oklahoma had some big news signing a five-star offensive tackle in Michael Fasusi. If you've been tuned into the channel, you probably knew that was coming down for a long time now. But Oklahoma also got news that their former five-star quarterback, Jackson Arnold, is intending to enter the transfer portal. And I say intends because technically you can't officially enter today. I think that's next week where they can officially do that. So Jackson Arnold plans to leave the University of Oklahoma. And as of right now, you only have Brandon Zerbrug, Michael Hawkins, and you're bringing in a true freshman that you flipped from the University of Oklahoma State. But the question is, what's next for Oklahoma? What direction do they go, especially if a specific portal target doesn't actually enter the transfer portal? We're going to talk about that today. Before we do, as always, I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts on Jackson Arnold entering the transfer portal and who you want Oklahoma to go get in the transfer portal to replace him. If you guys haven't already and you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button. But Jackson Arnold hits the portal after a is not a good season for an Oklahoma quarterback. Not the expectation that Oklahoma fans expect you to live up to. But at the same time, the favorite to potentially come to Oklahoma and get the starting job, Ben Arbuckle's former quarterback, John Mateer, he hasn't hit or announced his intentions to enter the portal yet. Meaning, Oklahoma right now is kind of still left in question of, well, are we going to be able to go out there and get the guy that we want? And I think even if John Mateer enters the portal, as I said in the video earlier this morning, there's not a guarantee Oklahoma's going to land him. Like, one, Oklahoma's going to have to pay a pretty penny, which we know they're going to do that. But the second thing is, Oklahoma, they're going to have to fight off the likes of a Miami, a Michigan, an Auburn, and Iowa. All those guys are going to be going out there and trying to get top-tier portal QB talent. Now, the question, though, is, well, out of the guys available in the portal, what does Oklahoma do? What's the next? And before we get into other portal guys that I think Oklahoma could potentially take a look at that could fit the system, you got to look at the guy that Ben Arbuckle just recruited to Oklahoma in his first day as being the offensive coordinator here. And that's Jet New. Jet New is a three-star quarterback that was committed to Oklahoma State, but today flipped his commitment and signed with Oklahoma. He's out of Lehigh, Utah, 6'2", 185 pounds. When you watch his film, you see the smooth throwing motion from Jet New. This could be a guy that, listen, Ben Arbuckle identifies him, could end up being a really damn good player for Oklahoma at the end of the day. Like, it's just one of those guys that I kind of get a very eerie feeling about, like, we might need to watch what his development looks like under Ben Arbuckle. But looking at what he did in high school, like this past season, he threw for 57% of his passes, 2,857 yards, 29 touchdowns. The year before that, 31 touchdowns, 65% of his passes for 2,800 yards. So Jet New is a guy that I think can fit pretty well in what Ben Arbuckle wants to do. And the system that Ben Arbuckle wants to run will probably be pretty familiar to what Jet has already done in high school. And it's also probably going to be pretty quarterback friendly. Now, looking at guys in the portal that Oklahoma could be potentially going after, right? This is where I think you got to think it's intriguing, because John Mateer ain't in the portal yet, right? So I think we have to continue to preface that. He's not in the portal yet. So as much as I think he's the front runner to get here, until he hits the portal, it's not really worth to talk about him. So you can look at a guy like Connor Weidman, another former five-star, ended up at Texas A&M, just got beat out, guys. That's really what it came down to. He's in the portal. That's a guy that Oklahoma could turn to. He's got a lot of athleticism. Obviously, he was known for his arm in high school as well. So Connor Weidman's a guy that you could potentially turn your attention to and look at. You could also look at a Daniel Kaling, the 6'3", 220-pound quarterback that out of high school ended up signing with Nebraska, even after Dylan Raiola announced his intentions to end up at the Nebraska University. Daniel is a guy that he was kind of wanted by a lot of people, Missouri specifically, but that could be an option, right? If you're wanting a younger guy with multiple years of eligibility, Daniel could be an option there as well. A lot of people could identify Miller Moss. Miller Moss was at USC, obviously under Lincoln Riley. Maybe didn't have the season that I think a lot of people expected Lincoln Riley to have with the quarterback, but he's available as well. Now, an interesting target, though, that I think a lot of people maybe aren't going to pick up on, or maybe just didn't see him into the portal, but that's Kaidon Salter. He was the quarterback out at Liberty this past season, threw for 1,886 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 23 threw for 2,876 yards and 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So Kaidon is definitely an option for Oklahoma if you're kind of looking for, I don't even know how to say it, right? But if you're looking for a portal quarterback, I think this could be a guy that potentially could intrigue Oklahoma. He's a guy that is mobile. He can use his feet. In 23, ran for 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. But you already have a similar quarterback to him in Michael Hawkins in this room. And I think this is where you got to maybe kind of turn your attention. Because while we potentially talk about Oklahoma going to find a starting quarterback in the transfer portal, they also could turn to the current quarterbacks that are in this room and look at a guy like Michael Hawkins and see if he's up to the challenge. Again, Ben Arbuckle's offense is going to utilize the strengths of his best players, right? That's how his offense is going to be ran. So understanding Michael Hawkins is got some elite speed in his legs. He still has an arm. I think a lot of people forget. Michael Hawkins can throw the ball. You could potentially see a guy like Michael Hawkins now be a potential guy that could contend for a starting spot in that room going into next year. So if you're an Oklahoma fan looking at the quarterback position going into 2025, this is going to be very intriguing because Jackson Arnold, I thought, fit really well in the system. Obviously, he's not going to be here. So jump in the comments below, join the discussion. Let me know what you guys think about Jackson Arnold entered the transfer portal. Who do you think is next for Oklahoma? Additionally, Michael Fasusi signed with Oklahoma, guys. They finally got their 5-star offensive tackle. Yes, I was not going to get through an entire video without talking about it. Guys, if you guys were here on the channel, you guys knew this was going to happen all year long, right? We followed it up. We had the sources. We talked to Fasusi. We had him here on the podcast multiple times. This seemed like Oklahoma pretty well had this in the bag as long as you kept Bill Bedenbaugh on staff. So you get Michael Fasusi, a 5-star offensive tackle. This isn't something that Oklahoma has been able to historically do a ton. So it's nice to be able to go out there and get a win, not only against your rival in Texas, but a school in Texas A&M that has beat you quite frequently on the recruiting trail, especially when it comes down to NIL money. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you guys next time.